3 months later, Daeho woke up in a hospital bed on the planet Nexus Prime. His body felt different, stronger, but also strange. The doctors told him that the Vellani life energy had changed his blood and bones in ways they did not understand. "You will live longer than normal humans," said Dr. Haijin Nam, a human scientist who had been studying his case. "The Vellani energy mixed with your DNA. You are still human, but also something new." The first thing Daeho asked about was the cubs. "They are safe," Dr. Haijin smiled. "They have been asking about you every day. Would you like to see them?" When Bam Hai and Biol came into his room, they ran to his bed and made happy crying sounds. They looked healthy and strong again. Their fur was bright and their eyes were shining. "We thought you were dead," Bam said in simple Galactic standard. She had learned to speak while Daeho was sleeping. "Never," Daeho said, hugging all three cubs. "I promised I would come back." Elder Talmor came to visit him too. "Captain Kim," the elder said formally, "the Vellani people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved not just 3 cubs, but showed the galaxy what true honor looks like." "I just did what anyone would do," Daeho said. Elder Talmor shook his head. "No. Most people would have saved themselves. You chose to protect children who were not even your own species. That is why your story has spread to every world in the galaxy." Daeho learned that he had become famous. News reports called him the Human Guardian and the Protector of Cubs. Videos of his fight with the Korvac. Raiders were being shown on planets he had never heard of. Ambassador Wu Jinli came to see him with good news. "The Galactic Council wants to give you the highest honor, the Guardian of Species Medal. Only 12 people in history have ever received it." "I do not want to be famous," Daeho said. "I just want to make sure Bam, Hai, and Biol are safe." "They will be," Ambassador Wu Jin promised. "Elder Talmor has asked if you would like to adopt them officially. You would be the first human to have Vellani children." Daeho looked at the 3 cubs who were sitting on his bed. They were looking at him with hope in their big eyes. "Yes," he said. "They are already my family." The adoption ceremony was held on Vellani Prime, the cubs' home world. Thousands of Vellani came to see the human who had risked everything for their children. When Elder Talmor announced that Daeho was now officially the father of Bam, Hai, and Biol, the crowd made a sound, like beautiful music. Captain Sojin Park was there too. "What will you do now?" she asked Daeho. "I want to find a quiet place where we can live in peace," Daeho said. "Maybe start a farm or something simple." But the galaxy had other plans for Daeho Kim. His story had changed how many species thought about humans. Before, some aliens thought humans were too violent and primitive to be trusted. Now they saw that human fighting spirit came from a desire to protect others. New treaties were signed between Earth and other worlds. Human colonies were given better treatment. Human ships were welcomed at ports that had been closed to them before. The Vellani became Earth's closest allies. They shared their healing technology and helped human colonies grow better food. In return, human engineers helped build better defenses for Vellani worlds. A year later, Daeho was living on New Jeju, a peaceful human colony planet. He had built a small house near a lake where the cubs could play safely. But he was not just a farmer. The Galactic Academy had asked him to teach classes about interspecies cooperation. Young people from many different worlds came to learn from. The man who had become a legend, Bam, had grown into a skilled healer. She worked with human and alien doctors to create new medicines. Her gentle nature and healing powers made her loved by patients from every species. He had become an artist and engineer. He used his metal-shaping abilities to create beautiful sculptures that were displayed in museums across the galaxy. He also helped design new tools that made life better for many species. Biol had the strongest powers of the 3. She could not only change metal and stone, but also sense emotions. Across great distances, the Galactic Diplomatic Corps asked her to help with peace negotiations between species that had been fighting for centuries. All 3 cubs grew up to be proud, successful adults. But they never forgot the human who had risked everything to save them when they were small and scared. One day, when Daeho was 50 years old, he received an emergency message. A small colony on the outer rim was being attacked by pirates. The colonists had women and children who could not defend themselves. "You do not have to go," Baum told him. "You have done enough fighting." "The decision is yours, Father," Hai said. "We will support whatever you choose. But if you do go," Bayul added with a smile, "we are coming with you." Daeho looked at his 3 children, no longer small cubs, but strong adults who shared his belief in protecting the innocent. "Well then," he said, "let us go remind the galaxy that some things are worth fighting for." The story of Daeho Kim and his Vellani children became one of the most famous legends in galactic history. It was told to children of every species as an example of courage, love, and sacrifice. But the best part of the legend was that it was still being written. Wherever there were people in danger, wherever the strong tried to hurt the weak, the family of Daeho Kim would appear to even the odds. They had learned from their father that family was not about blood or species. Family was about people who would risk everything to protect each other. And in a galaxy full of different species and worlds, that was a lesson everyone could understand. Years later, when young aliens asked Elder Talmor about the famous human protector, the old Vellani would smile and say, "Daeho Kim showed us that a hero is not someone who is never afraid. A hero is someone who acts with love when everyone else acts with fear." The legend of the human guardian lived on, inspiring new generations to choose protection over violence, love over fear, and family over everything else. And somewhere on New Jeju, an old human farmer would look up at the stars and smile, knowing that his children were out there making the galaxy a better place, one act of kindness at a time. The legend was complete, but the story would never end. Vex Korvac was angry, very angry. For 5 days, one human had stopped his entire raiding team. 5 days. His other raider friends were starting to laugh at him over the radio. "Enough games," Vex shouted to his warriors. "Bring the heavy plasma cannon. We will blow up the whole cave if we have to." Up in space, Captain Sojin Park watched the Korvac raiders through her ship's sensors. She wanted to help the human on the planet, but the enemy ships were blocking her way down. "Captain," said Jinwoo, "the Korvac ground team is setting up a big weapon. It looks like they want to destroy the cave." Elder Talmor closed his eyes and reached out with his mind toward the planet. "The human is very weak now," he said sadly. "But his protective feelings are stronger than ever. And the cubs, they are trying to help him." "What do you mean?" Sojin asked. "They are sharing their life energy with him. It is something young Vellani only do with their parents. They truly see him as family now." Down in the cave, Daeho felt strange. His body should have collapsed from tiredness and hunger days ago, but every time he was about to fall down, he felt new strength flowing into him. The 3 cubs were touching him. Baum's hand on his arm, Hay's hand on his back, Bayul's small fingers wrapped around his hand. They were giving him their own energy to keep him fighting. But it was dangerous for them. Daeho could see they were getting weaker as he got stronger. "No," he said softly. "Do not hurt yourselves for me." Baum looked up at him with her big eyes and made a sound that meant, "Family helps family." He touched Daeho's face and made healing liquid that tasted like sweet fruit. The liquid made Daeho feel stronger, but he could see it made Hay smaller and more tired. Beal touched his broken plasma pistol. The weapon became new again, better than when it was first made, but using her power made Buell's fur lose its bright color. "You are killing yourselves to save me," Daeho whispered. "I cannot let you do that." But the cubs would not stop. They had decided that keeping Daeho alive was more important than their own safety. Outside the cave, the Korvac raiders finished setting up their heavy weapon. It was a military plasma cannon that could blow holes in spaceship walls. It would turn the cave into melted rock. "Human," Vex called out. "This is your last chance. Come out with the cubs or we turn you all into ashes." Daeho looked at his 3 small friends. They were weak from sharing their energy, but they still trusted him completely. They believed he would find a way to save them. And suddenly, Daeho had an idea. A crazy, dangerous idea that would probably kill him. But it might save the cubs. The cave system was old and went deep into the hill. Daeho had explored it during the quiet times between attacks. He had found something interesting. The caves connected to old mining tunnels that went under the ground where the raiders were standing. If he could get into those tunnels... Stay here, Daeho told the cubs. Hide in the deepest room and do not come out no matter what you hear. Bomb made worried sounds. She could sense that Daeho was planning something very dangerous. I will come back for you, Daeho promised. But if I do not come back, remember that you are smart and strong. You can survive until the ships in space come to help you. He took his plasma pistol and all the power cells he had left. Bile had made them much stronger than normal. He also took some explosives he had made from his ship's parts. The mining tunnels were dark and narrow. Daeho had to crawl through some parts. His hands were bleeding and his knees hurt, but he kept going. Above him, he could hear the Korvac, raiders talking and laughing. They thought they had won. Daeho found a place right under where the big plasma cannon was set up. The roof of the tunnel was thin here. If he used all his explosives at once, he set up the bombs and connected them to a timer. Then he crawled as far away as he could get in 30 seconds. The explosion was huge. The ground above the tunnel collapsed, taking the plasma cannon and 3 Korvac raiders with it. The remaining raiders ran around in confusion, trying to figure out what had happened. Daeho climbed out of a tunnel opening behind the raiders. They were all looking at the big hole where their weapon used to be. They did not see him coming, but Daeho was moving strangely. The energy the cubs had given him was changing his body in ways that were not normal for humans. He was faster and stronger than any human should be, but his heart was beating too fast and his blood was burning like fire. He attacked the raiders from behind. His plasma pistol, enhanced by Buell's power, cut through their armor like it was paper. His movements were quick and deadly, like a wild animal protecting its children. Vex Korvac turned and saw his warriors falling one by one. Impossible! He shouted. You are just one human. I am a human protecting his family, Daeho said. His voice sounded different now, deeper and more dangerous. Vex fired his weapon at Daeho, but the human moved too fast. The shots missed. Daeho jumped on Vex and they fought hand to hand. Vex was bigger and stronger than most humans, but Daeho was not fighting like a normal human anymore. The Villani energy in his body had made him something new and terrifying. The fight was short and brutal. When it was over, Vex Korvac was dead, and Daeho was the only one standing. But the strange energy was burning him up from inside. He fell to his knees, breathing hard. His body was shaking, and his vision was getting dark. In space, the Korvac raider ships saw that their ground team was gone. Without their leader Vex, they decided to run away rather than fight the human and Villani ships. Sojin's ship landed near the cave. She ran out with Elder Talmor and a medical team. They found Daeho collapsed outside the cave, barely breathing. The 3 cubs were sitting next to him, making sad crying sounds. They were touching him, trying to share their life energy again, but they were too weak to help much. Get him to the medical bay immediately, Sojin ordered. Elder Talmor knelt down next to the cubs. You did well, little ones, he said in the Villani language. You found a true protector. As the medical team worked to save Daeho's life, Elder Talmor used his communicator to send a message to the Galactic Council. This human risked everything to protect 3 Villani cubs he had never met before, the Elder said. He fought 12 armed raiders with almost no food or water for 5 days. He would have died before letting them be hurt. The galaxy needs to know about this, Elder Talmor continued. Humans are not the violent primitives some think they are. When they fight, it is to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The message spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. Soon, everyone was talking about the human who had saved the Villani cubs. But in the medical bay, Daeho was fighting for his life, and no one knew if he would survive to see how famous he had become. Far away from the cave where Daeho protected the 3 cubs, something important was happening in space. Captain Sojin Park was flying her ship, the Harmony's Edge, through the outer space regions. She worked for the Galactic Trade Group, protecting merchant ships from pirates. Sojin was also from Earth like Daiho, but she had left her home planet many years ago. Her ship was carrying a very important passenger, Elder Talmor, one of the most respected Vallani leaders in the galaxy. Elder Talmor was traveling to a peace meeting on the planet Nexus Prime. Sojin was checking her ship's systems when her communication officer, a young man named Jin Woo, called out. "Captain, I am picking up a weak distress signal," Jin Woo said. "It is very broken, but I think it is from a human ship." Sojin looked at the signal on her screen. It was coming from the planet Kepler 4422c, a place where no one was supposed to live. "Can you tell what kind of ship?" Sojin asked. "It looks like a cargo vessel. The signal keeps stopping and starting. The ship must be badly damaged." Elder Talmor, who had been resting in the passenger area, came to the bridge. The elder was old and wise, with silver fur and kind eyes. Like all Vallani, Talmor could sense emotions from other people. "Captain Park," the elder said in perfect Galactic standard, "I sense great worry from you. What is wrong?" Sojin explained about the distress signal. "It is probably just a cargo pilot who had engine trouble. We can send the signal to the nearest rescue station." But Elder Talmor looked very concerned. "That planet, Kepler 442c, that is near the Korvac Raider territories. If there is a human there, they could be in great danger." "The Korvac usually do not bother with single humans," Sojin said. "They look for bigger prizes." Elder Talmor was quiet for a moment, his large eyes looking at the signal data. "Captain, I must tell you something. 3 days ago we lost contact with a Vallani family group that was traveling through that area. They had 3 young cubs with them." Sojin felt her heart skip. "You think they are connected?" "I do not know. But if Korvac raiders found that family..." Elder Talmor did not finish the sentence. Everyone knew what Korvac raiders did to Vallani cubs. "We need to go there," Sojin said. "Now." Elder Talmor nodded. "I agree. If there are Vallani cubs in danger, we must help them." Sojin changed her ship's course toward Kepler 442c. At the same time, she sent a message to the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime. The message reached Ambassador Wu Jin Lee, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. Wu Jin was a smart man who had worked hard to make other species respect humans. It was not easy work because many aliens still thought humans were too violent and primitive. When Wu Jin got Sojin's message, he immediately called for an emergency meeting. The council chamber was a huge room where representatives from 50 different species met to make decisions about the galaxy. "Fellow council members," Wu Jin said, standing at his speaking podium, "we have received word that a human cargo pilot may be stranded on Kepler 442c, possibly with Vallani refugees." The Vallani representative, a female named Council Leader Miran, stood up quickly. "If our people are in danger, we must send help immediately," but other council members were not so sure. The Krolik's representative, a large, lizard-like being, made a hissing sound. "Why should we risk our ships for one human and a few Vallani?" the Krolik said. "That area is full of pirates. We could lose many people trying to save a few." The Zenthari representative, who looked like a tall insect, clicked his mandibles in agreement. Humans are known for getting into trouble. Perhaps this one should solve his own problems. Ambassador Wu Jin felt angry, but he kept his voice calm. "The Galactic Charter says we must help any species in danger from pirates or raiders." "That is true," said the council chairman, an ancient being called First Among Equals. "But the question is, how much help should we send, and how quickly?" The debate went on for hours. Some species wanted to send a full military fleet immediately. Others wanted to send just one small rescue ship. A few wanted to send nothing at all. While the politicians argued, Elder Talmor's ship was getting closer to Kepler 442c. Sojin used her ship's powerful sensors to scan the planet's surface. "I am detecting energy weapon fire," reported Jinwoo. "Someone is definitely fighting down there. And I am reading at least 7 Korvac Raider ships in orbit around the planet," added He-Jin, the ship's security officer. Elder Talmor looked very worried. "Captain, I can sense something from the planet's surface. There are young Vallani down there. They are very scared, but they are still alive." And there is something else, the elder continued. I sense a human mind. He is in great pain and very tired, but his emotions are protective. He is trying to protect the cubs. So Jin stared at Elder Talmor. A human is protecting Vallani cubs? Yes. I have never sensed anything like it from a human before. His mind is focused on only one thing, keeping the young ones safe. He would rather die than let them be hurt. So Jin made a decision. Jin Woo, send a message to the Korvac ships. Tell them to leave the system immediately or we will attack. Captain, said Heejin nervously, we are just one ship. They have 7. I do not care, Sojin said. No one hurts children while I am around. Elder Talmor smiled. Captain Park, now I understand why some humans and Vallani can be friends. We both believe in protecting the innocent. The message was sent to the Korvac raiders. Their response came back quickly and was full of bad words. They refused to leave, Jinwoo reported. They say they found the Vallani cubs first, so they belong to them. Over my dead body, Sojin said. But before she could attack, more ships appeared in the system. 3 Vallani defense vessels had arrived, sent by Council Leader Miran without waiting for the Council's decision. Then 2 more ships arrived, Earth Defense, force vessels that Ambassador Wu Jin had called for help. Soon there were 8 friendly ships facing 7 Korvac raiders. The leader of the Korvac raiders sent a message. You are too late. Our ground team will have the cubs soon. Even if you destroy our ships, the cubs will be dead. Down on the planet's surface, Daeho was still fighting. He had been awake for 3 days straight, living on just water and the small amounts of healing liquid that hay could make. He was so tired he could barely stand, but he kept fighting. The cubs stayed close to him now. They had learned to work, together like a team. Bomb would warn him when enemies were coming. Hay would give him healing liquid when he was hurt. Buell would make his weapons stronger and sharper. But there were too many raiders, and more kept coming. Vex Korvac had called for help from his ship. Now there were 12 Korvac warriors trying to get into the cave, and they had brought heavy weapons. Human, called Vex from outside the cave. Your friends in space cannot help you. Give up now, and we will kill you quickly instead of slowly. Daeho looked at the 3 cubs who trusted him completely. Bomb put her small hand on his arm and made a soft sound that meant, thank you. Hay touched a cut on Daeho's face and healed it with his special liquid. Buell made his last plasma power cell stronger so it would last longer. These were not just alien cubs anymore. They were his children, his family, and family was worth dying for. Tell you what, Vex, Daeho called back. Come in here and take them. The time for hiding was over. Now came the real fight. The sound of engines got louder. Daeho grabbed his bag and weapon. He looked at the 3 small Vallani cubs, Bomb, Hai, and Bayul, who were now very scared. We need to hide deeper in the cave, Daeho said quietly. The cubs understood his worried voice even if they could not understand his words. They followed him as he moved toward the back of the cave system. His small light showed many tunnels going in different directions. Daeho had been a soldier. He knew how to make a place safe for fighting. This cave could be a good fort if he did it right. Stay here and be very quiet, he told the cubs. They huddled together in a small room deep in the cave. Daeho went back toward the entrance. The voices outside were getting closer. He could hear them talking in Korvac language about finding the little fur ones and getting good money for their juice. Daeho felt sick. The Korvac raiders wanted to catch the Vallani cubs and hurt them to get their healing liquids. Vallani could make special medicine from their bodies, but only if they were alive and very scared or hurt. The pirates would keep the cubs in cages and hurt them every day to make the medicine. It was one of the most evil things anyone could do. Not while Daeho was alive. He spent the next few hours working fast. From his crashed ship, he took everything useful. Power cells for energy, metal pieces for traps, wire for alarms, tools for building. The cave had only one main entrance, but it had many rooms inside. This was good. Daeho could make the entrance like a bottle, easy to get into, hard to get out of. He used rocks to make the entrance smaller. Now only one person could come in at a time. Then he set up his plasma pistol on a timer. If someone stepped on the right spot, the gun would fire by itself. Behind that, he made a tripwire from his ship's cables. Anyone who got past the first trap would fall into a hole he dug and covered with thin metal. In the tunnels, he put up small lights that would warn him if anyone was coming. The power cells from his ship would make them work for many days. While he worked, the three cubs watched him. They were smart. They began to help by carrying small rocks and holding his light. Bomb, the biggest one, seemed to understand what Deho was doing. She made soft sounds and pointed to places where more traps would be good. Hay, the middle cub, found water dripping from the cave walls. He showed Deho how to collect it in containers. This was very important because Deho's water bottles were almost empty. Biol, the smallest cub, did something amazing. She touched a piece of broken metal from Deho's ship. The metal began to change, becoming harder and sharper. Deho stared. He had heard that Volani cubs could change metal, but he had never seen it before. "Can you make this stronger?" Deho asked, showing her a piece of his armor. Biol touched the armor. It became harder, like the best military armor Deho had ever seen. Now he had better protection. The cubs were not just helpless children. They had special abilities that could help them all survive. On the second day, the Korvac raiders found the cave. Deho heard his warning lights beep softly. He grabbed his weapon and moved to his fighting position near the entrance. The cubs hid in the deepest part of the cave like he had taught them. "I know you are in there, little furballs," called a rough voice from outside. "Come out and we will not hurt you much." Deho said nothing. Let them think no one was home except the cubs. A Korvac raider stepped into the cave entrance. He was big and ugly, with scars on his face and arms. He carried a large gun that could kill many people at once. The raider stepped on Deho's trap. The plasma pistol fired and hit him in the chest. The raider fell down dead. "What was that?" shouted another voice from outside. A second raider came in, more careful this time. He saw his dead friend and became angry. He looked around for enemies, but could not see Deho hiding behind rocks. The second raider stepped forward and hit the tripwire. He fell into the hole Deho had dug. Deho dropped a heavy rock on his head. "Two down," Deho whispered to himself. But now the other raiders knew someone was fighting them. They would be much more careful. "There is someone else in there," called the rough voice from outside. "Someone who knows how to fight." Deho heard them talking. There were at least 6 more raiders out there. Too many for him to fight in an open battle. For 3 days, the raiders tried different ways to get into the cave. They sent in small robots, but Deho destroyed them with rocks. They tried to use gas to make everyone sleep, but the cave had good airflow that blew the gas away. They tried to dig other entrances, but the hill was too hard. During these 3 days, Deho learned more about the cubs. They could understand some of his words now. Bomb could sense when people were angry or scared. She always knew when the raiders were about to try something new. Hay could make small amounts of healing liquid that helped Deho's cuts get better faster. The liquid also gave Deho more energy when he was very tired. Biol could change metal and rock to make them stronger or sharper. She helped Deho make better weapons and traps. The cubs were teaching him their language too. Simple words like danger and safe and food. They were very smart and learned his words quickly, but Deho's food was running out. The water from the cave walls was not very much. He was getting weaker each day. On the 4th day, the rough voice called out again. "My name is Vex Korvac. I am the leader of this group. I know you are a human. Humans are supposed to be smart. So let us make a deal." Deho did not answer, but he listened. "Give us the 3 cubs and we will let you live. We will even give you a ride off this planet. You can go anywhere you want. Just give us the fur babies." Deho looked back at the 3 cubs. They were looking at him with their big, bright eyes. They trusted him completely. They believed he would keep them safe. "What do you say, human?" called Vex Korvac. Deho moved closer to the cave entrance. He could see Vex standing outside with 5 other raiders. They all had big guns and looked very mean. "I have a counteroffer," Deho called back. "Oh? What is that?" "Leave this planet now, and I will not kill all of you." The raiders laughed, loudly. They thought this was very funny. "You are one human with a small gun," Vex called back. "We are 6 Korvac warriors with military weapons. How will you kill us?" Deho smiled, even though his face was dirty and he was very tired. "I will show you what humans do when someone threatens our children." The laughter stopped. Now the raiders sounded worried. "Those are not your children, human. They are just animals." "Wrong," Deho said. "They are my family now, and I protect my family." That night, Deho began to plan his attack. He was done hiding. It was time to show these pirates what happened when they messed with a human's cubs. The warning lights flashed red across the control panel. Captain Deho Kim gripped the steering wheel of his cargo ship as it shook like a dying animal. The engine made terrible sounds, grinding, screaming metal that meant his ship was about to die. "Come on, old girl," Deho whispered to his ship, the Morning Star. "Just a little longer." But the ship did not listen. The main engine exploded with a loud bang. Fire spread across the back of the ship. Deho's hands moved fast over the controls, trying to find a safe place to crash. Below him was a small planet called Kepler 442c. It looked brown and rocky with few trees. Not the best place to land, but better than dying in space. Deho pushed the nose of his ship down toward the planet's surface. The Morning Star hit the ground hard. It bounced once, twice, then slid across the rocky dirt for what felt like forever. Metal screamed against stone. Deho's head hit the control panel. Everything went black. When Deho woke up, his head hurt badly. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. The ship was quiet now, except for small fires crackling somewhere behind him. He could smell smoke and burned metal. He looked around the broken control room. Most of his screens were dead. Only one small light still worked, showing him that the air outside was safe to breathe. That was good news. The bad news was that his distress beacon was damaged. It might work, or it might not. He had no way to know. Deho was 34 years old and had been flying cargo ships for 6 years. Before that, he was a soldier for Earth Defense Force. He knew how to survive in bad places. But this place looked very bad. He gathered what he could from the ship. A small bag of food that would last maybe 5 days. 2 bottles of water. A plasma pistol with half power left. A basic medical kit. Some tools. Not much to keep a man alive. The planet was hot during the day and cold at night. The air was thin but okay to breathe. Red dust covered everything. Far away he could see mountains. Closer to him were rocks and small hills with caves. Deho spent his first day trying to fix the distress beacon. He was good with machines, but this one was badly broken. He could make it send signals sometimes, but not all the time. Maybe someone would hear it. Maybe not. On his second day, he decided to look for water. His bottles would not last long in this heat. He walked toward the hills, hoping to find a spring or stream. That was when he heard the sound. It was quiet and sad, like a child crying. But it did not sound human. Deho followed the sound to a large cave in the hillside. The entrance was mostly hidden by rocks, but he could squeeze through. Inside the cave, it was cool and dark. Deho used a small light to see. The cave went deep into the hill, with many small rooms connected by narrow paths. The crying sound came from the back of the cave. Deho moved slowly, not wanting to scare whatever was making the sound. When he reached the back room, he stopped and stared. 3 small creatures sat huddled together against the cave wall. They were about the size of human children, maybe 6 or 7 years old. They had soft fur that looked gray in his light, but he thought it might be blue or green in real sunlight. Their eyes were very large and bright like jewels. They had small hands with long fingers and hard plates along their backs that looked like armor. The creatures saw Deho and made scared sounds. They pressed closer together, trying to hide. Deho had seen creatures like this before in pictures and videos. They were called Villani. They were peaceful traders who traveled between planets, selling beautiful art and helping fix machines. Everyone in the galaxy knew the Villani were kind and never hurt anyone. But these three looked very scared and very alone. Deho put down his weapon and held up his hands to show he meant no harm. He spoke in Galactic Standard, the language most aliens understood. "I will not hurt you," he said slowly. "Are you okay?" The largest of the three creatures, still very small, made soft sounds. It pointed toward the cave entrance and shook its head. Then it made a sound like explosions. Deho understood. Something bad had happened outside. Something that made explosions. He moved closer, very slowly. The creatures watched him but did not run. When he was close enough, he could see they were hurt. Small cuts on their arms and legs, their fur was dirty and they looked very hungry. "Where are your parents?" Deho asked. The largest creature made a sad sound and pointed up, toward the sky. Then it made the explosion sound again and fell over, pretending to be dead. Deho's heart felt heavy. Their parents were gone, killed by whatever had attacked their home. He sat down on the cave floor, far enough away so they would not be scared. From his bag, he took out some of his food, dried meat and fruit. He put it on the ground between them and pushed it toward the creatures. "Eat," he said. "You are hungry." The three creatures looked at the food, then at each other, then at Deho. The largest one moved forward carefully and took a small piece of meat. It smelled it, then ate it quickly. The other two came forward and began to eat too. While Deho studied them. They were very young, he could tell. Babies, really, even though they were almost as big as human children. Their large eyes showed intelligence and sadness. As he watched them eat his food he needed to stay alive, Deho made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. He would protect these children. It did not matter that they were aliens. It did not matter that he barely had enough food and water for himself. It did not matter that he was stuck on this planet with no way to call for help. These were children, and they were alone and scared. Deho had been a soldier. He had fought in wars and seen terrible things. But he had also learned that protecting innocent people was the most important thing anyone could do. "My name is Deho," he said to the three creatures. He pointed to himself. "Deho." The largest creature pointed to itself and made a sound like wind through trees. Deho could not say the real name, so he decided to call this one Bomb, which meant spring in his language. The second creature made a sound like light shining. He would call this one Hay, which meant sun. The smallest creature made a sound like music in the night. This one would be Buell, which meant star. Bomb, Hay, Buell, Deho said, pointing to each one. They seemed to understand and made happy sounds. As the day got later, Deho heard something that made his blood turn cold. Far away, but getting closer, he could hear the sound of engines. Big engines, like military ships. And he could hear voices, shouting in a language he knew. Korvac raiders, the worst pirates in the galaxy. They were coming.